as well.
Yeah, but Vilma, I'm going to follow up here. Okay, normally it's Acho that's going to be yelling at you. I am. What defense did Kyler Murray have to go up against this year?
Well, you look at all the other quarterbacks in the Big 12, and they didn't have the defenses to go up against. It was all the same competition, right? And Kyler Murray was the best, far and away the best. You look at Will Greer, who would throw interceptions. Kyler Murray was the best quarterback. He put up the best numbers against these terrible defenses. So if we're going to talk about the bad defenses for the Big 12, then every quarterback in the Big 12 should be up for the Heisman. It's not the case. It's Kyler Murray because he was so exceptional and so wonderful in his performance.
That's a great question you ask, Peter, when you bring up what about the defenses. To me, it's chicken or the egg. The reason some of those defenses are so bad in the Big 12 is because the quarterbacks are just that good. Vilma and I have argued about this time and time again. When you have to defend the full 53 1/3, the width of the football field, it's a lot harder to play defense than when all you have to do is defend the lead, the power, the counter, the trap, etc. So Kyler Murray, yes, he lit it up against some of those bad defenses, but let's keep in mind the reason those defenses are so bad is because of guys like Kyler Murray.
That is true. And listen, he's like a video game character. He's like Super Tecmo Bo Jackson back in the day. All right, so who's the most valuable to their team? And let's take all three. Let's throw in Haskins in the situation, Tua to Alabama, or Emmanuel, is it Kyler to Oklahoma?
In this order, it is Kyler, Dwayne Haskins, and Tua. And I think it is very simple. You saw in the SEC championship game, without Tua, essentially without Tua, Alabama still won. So that tells me Georgia was the toughest opponent Alabama played all year. That tells me without Tua, Alabama still likely would have been undefeated. Without Kyler Murray, Oklahoma would probably have 3 or 4 losses. And Dwayne Haskins, he lit it up in the Big Ten. Set a Big Ten record in touchdown passes. He was absolutely amazing. So I think Tua was the least important, then Dwayne at second, and Kyler takes the cake at number 1.
Man. Acho, how can you have Dwayne second as opposed to first? Because Dwayne Haskins was everything to Ohio State. Dwayne Haskins had the worst run game of the 3 quarterbacks. He had the least explosive receivers of the 3 quarterbacks. He had to literally will them against Maryland to win that game. If Dwayne Haskins isn't throwing for 400 yards, they are losing games. So Kyler Murray had to throw for 300 yards to win games. Tua didn't have to do, I shouldn't say he didn't have to do much. He has a very talented team and a very talented defense, but you had Dwayne Haskins that had to go above and beyond 400-yard passing games, 5 touchdown passing games in order for the team to win. So Dwayne Haskins was by far the most important guy with less talent around him.
That is where I disagree with you. Dwayne Haskins, I can't make a huge argument. I can give you maybe Dwayne Haskins, but at the point in which you say less talent around him, keep in mind Dwayne Haskins had Paris Campbell, J.K. Dobbins. Dwayne Haskins had talent. Ohio State, for whatever reason, just couldn't figure out how to utilize it.
You're talking about the running backs and K.J. Hill and Paris Campbell. Would you rather have CeeDee Lamb or would you have Paris Campbell? Would you rather have Marquise Brown or would you have K.J. Hill? I mean, give me a break. So you go team by team, position by position. I'm taking all the other guys for Oklahoma and Alabama. Before I take the Ohio State guys.
You're not going to tell me Ohio State's roster's not talent-laden. They have tons of talent. Keep in mind, OU lost their top dog running back. Kennedy Brooks, he started the season as the number 3. Rodney Anderson started as number 1.
Ohio State is talented. They have a talented receiving core and a talented running back. They are not as talented as Oklahoma and Alabama. And then if we go to the tight end position, which I didn't want to bring up, but since you're talking about talent,
Calcaterra is nice at OU. You're right.
Alabama had the better tight end, Irv Smith. We had Calcaterra at Oklahoma. They had the better tight end, so Dwayne Haskins had the least of the 3. They're still talented. They just weren't as talented as Oklahoma and Alabama.
Here's the deal. Next time, they should put me in the middle of the show so I can make sure that I separate you two guys. All right, Vilma, not who's going to win, who should win the Heisman?
Kyler Murray should win the Heisman. Kyler Murray was the most important player. He was the most electric player. He was the most exciting player all season long. There was never a drop-off in Kyler Murray's play, whether injured, not injured, better defense, bad defense. All I saw was a guy that reminded me, frankly, of a Michael Vick type of player where he was extremely fast. As soon as he broke out in the open field, it was touchdown. He had an arm. He was accurate. He was better at decisions down the field. I mean, he was the best player, and he should win the Heisman.
Yeah, Kyler Murray should win the Heisman. Kyler Murray will win the Heisman. The Heisman might as well be sent to his house and to Norman, Oklahoma. He was that good. He was special. Yes, Tua was great. Dwayne Haskins was great. But Kyler was, like JV just said, he was electric, even in his worst game against Army. 11 for 15 through the air, 4 total touchdowns. He had just as many total touchdowns as he had incompletions in his worst football game of the season. And when his teams needed him the most, he always showed up. You could make the argument that Tua didn't necessarily show up when his team needed him the most. Yes, Tua was injured, so you do have to factor that in, but it has to go to Kyler.
Unbelievable, guys. Tua, it was so good he didn't have to play the fourth quarter and still almost put up the same amount of numbers as Kyler, and yet both of you guys are going with Kyler. All right, Vilma, I don't have a bone to pick with you. But Acho, I might have one to pick with you. I heard on SportsCenter earlier today, did you really say that Nick Saban may have cost Tua an opportunity at the Heisman? What are you talking about?
I said that, and here's what I mean by that. Tua could have easily won the Heisman, but Saban has bigger priorities, winning a national championship. There's a reason Tua didn't play in the second half of most games. They were already blowing his teams out, but we've seen coaches pull bigger stunts to make sure their quarterbacks win, i.e. Robert Griffin in 2011 or 2012. One game he threw for a touchdown, received a touchdown from a passer, and ran a touchdown. If Saban really wanted Tua to win, we could have gone and he could have gone the extra mile. But again, Saban has bigger priorities, and that was winning football games. That's why Tua got out in the third quarter and for sure the fourth quarter of just about every game.
Ooh, okay, I'm glad you explained that, Acho. I was ready to jump down your throat, man. But I agree with most of what you're saying, except that Tua was still poised to win the Heisman. It was just that he didn't play as well down the stretch. And we're talking about as well as his phenomenal numbers, historic numbers to start the season. So he still had every opportunity. He just had better competition. They started to figure out, they as in the defense, started to figure out how to attack Tua. Just no one knew how to attack him. And now that some of the teams do, he didn't play as well.
When it comes down to it, Kyler has more passing yards than Alabama's passing leader. Kyler has more rushing yards than Alabama's rushing leader. It has to be Kyler.
By the way, it's going to be fun. We get to see Tua versus Kyler in that, and let's see what Tua can do against the 127th ranked pass defense, boys. All right, we got a lot more coming up, including more about Oklahoma. Well, Lincoln Riley headed to the NFL. Is he ready? One NFL QB thinks he is. We'll tell you who that is coming up next. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, 28th Annual Home Depot College Football Awards. I saw the set. It looks good. Vilma looks good out there as well. Chris Fowler, host with Lee, Kirk, Dez, Tom Rinaldi, and Maria Taylor. And always watch it on the ESPN. On this week's Wendy's Fresh Look, it's a fresh look for the Buffs. Colorado named Georgia defensive coordinator Mel Tucker their new head coach on Wednesday. In his 3 seasons in Athens, Tucker's defense been near the top of the FBS in terms of points allowed, total yards allowed, and passing yards allowed. So I ask you this, Coach, what expectations do you have?
The expectations that I have for this university and this program are extremely high. We're going to start working today to get this thing going in the direction that it needs to go. We want to have a team that changes the way people think when it's all said and done. When they leave the field, we want them to think, never want to play that team again.
I love that saying. It's time for a little 4 downs. We start first down with right there. Mel Tucker, Jonathan, had said he wants to live tough and eat tough, okay? I don't even know what that means. Maybe it's the bison that they might eat up there. What are you doing? I mean, is Colorado the right fit? Is that going to work there for him?
Colorado is definitely going to work for Mel Tucker. When you look at Mike McIntyre, who just was a head coach for Colorado, they were a good team. They were not a tough team. They had talent, but he could never get over the hump. And what Mel Tucker brings is a toughness about him, not just from college football. He made his ranks in the NFL, and he knows how to identify with very, very good players at specific positions. That's what I loved about watching the Georgia defense. He was able to get the best guy for the position, not just a 5-star recruit, but the guy that's long, rangy. He knows where to put him, or you got a big lineman, he knows where to put that guy as well. So I love that he's going to bring the toughness with the right players to Colorado.
The issue I have there, JV, is can he get the right players? Mel Tucker has no experience on the West Coast, not as a coach, not as a player. He is a phenomenal coach. His track record speaks for itself. Played in championships, won championships, but you got to be able to recruit. Can he do that to Colorado, especially seeing as he hasn't been to the West Coast?
Well, Acho, of course he can do that, because if I'm an 18-year-old high school kid and I'm looking at the new head coach coming from
that was
Georgia,
a whistle, Bill.
What?
That means that was a whistle. That means you're done.
Well, we don't care about the whistle. I want to play for a coach that just went to Georgia and has been in the NFL.
Oh, you got double whistle, the double tech. I haven't seen that. All right, it's time for second down, and we start with another SEC coordinator. This one, Mike Locksley, going from Alabama's OC to being the head coach at Maryland. Let's see how he's prepared for that.
I just spent 3 years saturating and winning and seeing what it's like to be done right. And I can only hope that I can take just a little bit of what I've learned from Coach Saban the past 3 years to implement and install here at the University of Maryland. I think the biggest thing that I've learned from being under Coach Saban is focus on the process, not the results. This has been a dream job for me from the day I got into coaching.
All right, so Acho, I assume he's working on the process in the hand generation. Is there? Listen, the guy was 2-26 in his first stint at New Mexico. Is the second thing going to be a good fit for him?
You have to hope so. What's funny to me is when coaches hide behind Coach Saban. I heard more about Coach Saban in that 15-second presser than I did anything else. Mike Locksley is a huge part of Alabama's success. You have to wonder, is it him? Is it Tua? Is it the combination of the two? But hopefully after 3 years, again, under one of the best coaches of all time in college football in Nick Saban, he will have a resurgence, because his first time around as a head coach, it did not go well.
Yeah, and it sounds like he learned from his first time and then combined it with his experience at Alabama. The best thing I heard was trust the process. So he wants to get involved in how to do it the right way every time. And he may not have the best players that Alabama's going to get, but he's going to have good players. He can recruit very well in that area. There's a lot of talent around the Maryland area. So now it's a matter of him saying, all right, forget winning and losing. Let me dive into the process as detailed as Saban had been, as almost dedicated and committed as Saban has been, and then see where the results are after that.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Looking forward to this. As you hear that whistle, it means it's time for third down. Baker Mayfield's good at third downs in his career. So, Baker, I'll ask you this. Is Lincoln ready for the NFL?
Lincoln's been ready. Just who he is, how he coaches, the respect level he's had from all of his players, how detailed he is. Yeah, he's ready, but that's his decision. You know what? He's got something special there, so I don't think anybody's going to blame him if he stays there for the next 20 years.
Listen, he's got it made there in Norman. There's no doubt. Lincoln Riley does. But, Vilma, you got to take a look at the NFL if they come calling, right?
Of course. You take a look at the NFL and also understand that the NFL is not for long. So if you don't perform in the first 2 or 3 years, you will be out of there. Now, one thing that I want to know about, and what I was glad to hear Baker Mayfield talk about, was him with the respect of the players. Because as a former college and NFL player, the biggest difference in the coaching was that college coaches are developing men. You have young boys that are coming in, you develop men. NFL coaches, it's a relationship. You have grown men on the field, so it's not your way or the highway. It's how do we work together for a common goal. And if Lincoln Riley can do that and adjust to the NFL and dealing with men, he'll have a phenomenal career.
I think it was a philosopher, Justin Bieber, who once said, the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. Lincoln Riley, stay in Norman. You're about to have 2 Heisman winners in back-to-back years, 2 college football playoff appearances in back-to-back years. You're making good money. You're on top of the world. You can recruit the entire country at your disposal. What you want to go to the league for? There's nothing there for you but problems and drama.
Yes,
Plato. You just want to leave because he keeps beating Texas.
Listen, by the way, Jason Garrett, had he lost a couple of more games for the Cowboys, I think Jerry Jones would have come to calling. All right, how about this, gentlemen? This is going to be our fourth down, and we got to get into this because Jim Delaney, the Big Ten commissioner, says, hey, you know what? We're sticking with 9 conference games, not 8 like the ACC and the SEC. Acho, is that the right call?
Awful call, wrong decision. It needs to be uniformed across the board. That's the only way we can truly judge. There has to be parity. The Big Ten's just putting themselves in a worse-off position. You see the way the SEC and Alabama schedules, that's the way to do it. Manipulate the system to your advantage. If you're a team like Ohio State, Michigan, a team that can't afford to lose, even Wisconsin in their good years, make it as easy for you as possible. I don't think that's the right call. Use the college football playoff system to your advantage.
Yeah, but Acho, this is chess, not checkers. This is the first step in many steps to normalizing the college football schedule across the board. So the first step you do is publicly announce we are going to keep 9 games. We are one of the Power 5 conferences, along with the Pac-12, that has 9 games. And then the next step is to say, hey, look, playoff committee, look, NCAA, we have 9 games, and we're the ones that are consistently left out of the playoff. How about we get everyone else on board so we can even the competition? Then the third step is to go and really force the issue to the SECs of the world, the ACCs of the world, and then you'll finally end up with a normalized schedule. Everyone will have 9 games, one FCS school, and 1 bye week.
I was going to vote for Lee Corso for commissioner, but Vilma, I can be swayed. There's a couple of 20s in my pocket. I'll be fine with that. All right, thanks, boys. That is our 4 downs. All right, here is a quick look at this year's ROTC Senior of the Year Award presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. Kirsten Cullinan built a training program for cadet leaders from scratch. How cool is that? Pulling from Air Force doctrine, writings on leadership, and her own experiences to determine what skills are most necessary that upperclassmen develop. And how about Brett Smith? Cadet Smith excelled at Air Force ROTC field training summer leadership evaluation course, where he was recognized as the top 1% of cadets and future ROTC cadet wing commander. Awesome to hear that. Awesome because we're getting closer to bowl season. Some guys will not play, but the guys have an idea how all of that can change. Next on College Football Live.
College Football Live is presented by Ice Cold Dr. Pepper.
Bowl season. Some players getting ready for the NFL draft, overplaying their team's bowl games this coming up season. And notables on this front, Houston's Ed Oliver, Rashawn Gary, and Greedy Williams of LSU, among others. Acho, let's start with you. Do you care that these guys are trying to get a jump start in their NFL career and not rolling with their boys to the bowl game?
Not at all, and I have a problem with those who do have beef with players that leave early. You see, college coaches, they get offered a job, and they don't even pack up their office before they're gone. But when a player wants to leave early to prepare for his NFL future, when a player wants to leave early to get an extra jump on the combine or a jump on the Senior Bowl to try and secure millions, seeing as they've been playing for nothing but a scholarship check and a free meal here and there for the last 3 to 4 years, that's a problem? Not at all.
All right, so if that's the case, Vilma, how do you entice these kids? I mean, what's the reason why?
Well, the reason why the players have smartened up. They know all the bowl games turn a profit. They know the schools turn a profit. They know everybody is making money except them. So if you want to incentivize these players that are going to the NFL who are about to get paid millions of dollars, then you pay them. You have paraphernalia that you give out at all the bowl games. I went to every BCS bowl game, and I got all the gift bags. I got the PS2. I got everything. And the only thing that mattered to me was a game jersey and winning. And so if you want them to play, pay them. Pay them the way that you would pay them for anybody else or any other place of labor.
You know what you do?
Burns, you know Vilma's old because he got a PS2.
Exactly. I had to date myself, so you knew that.
I used to watch him in standard def. That's okay. You know, we all need Acho jackets. That's what we should get the players. All right. Thanks for watching another edition of College Football Live.